one of the stories, the actually penultimate, used to be the final story. But the penultimate piece from the first anthology was written by a guy who now wishes to no longer be named. He wrote a story essentially about throat fucking his girlfriend. And a month or two after release, he messages me and says, hey, bro, can you redact that entire story? Actually, I think he was not in the proper state of mind while penning and submitting that story. So now, if you buy a copy of the first Unreal anthology, there is about 20 to 30 pages of just black lines. And I don't know if anybody... Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Unreal Press podcast. I'm your host, Rhyme. LA is out briefly. He's like heavy down with school shit. He's going to be taking a brief hiatus, which may or may not be felt because we have a bunch of shit in the backlog. It's going to be released over the next month or so. But today, I'm interviewing a few guys affiliated with the publication side of the press, which I say publication side, but that's kind of like our main effort is with publishing books and anthologies and stuff. And the podcast was supposed to be like a fun side project, but it's kind of all we do. So just to remind everyone, including the hosts, that we're supposed to be a book company, I've brought on the editor for the upcoming Unreal anthology. We've done an Oriental theme, which is it's well named, I think. We've got 18 contributors, and I've brought on the editor and contributor. He has a story in the anthology. And I've also brought on another guy who wrote a story for the anthology. And we'll be doing another podcast later this month with another editor and another contributor. So first, let me introduce a guy I'm going to call Het. He is the lead editor for this edition of the anthology. He's also contributed to our last two anthologies.
Yeah, I'm currently in charge of the anthology that we're putting together right now, and I basically took over halfway through the process for the previous book. And for the first book, I was hardly involved at all, actually. I didn't even write a story for that one.
Also, we have Garrison Precker. I don't know if I'm supposed to say your entire name, but Garrison, he wrote a story for this current anthology. He hasn't been in the last anthologies, but I think he's going to be in this one and our other one we have coming afterwards. Say hi to the people, man.
Yeah. I don't care if you said my full name or not. My name's Garrison. My story is about sun worship in Japan. One of my artistic goals, I guess, is basically exposing the sort of occult influence on all of media from Hollywood to Japan. My story is about Shonen Jump. I hope to write more for the Unreal brand, and really enjoyed being here. I've been here for like 3 months in their server and shit, so yeah.
Awesome. Now, you say your stories in Japan. I know are all of these stories in Japan? What's the Oriental theme about?
So I'm not really sure where the germ of the idea came from, but no, they're not all Japanese, although unsurprisingly, quite a few of them are Japanese. Like, I think 4 of them are going to be set in Japan.
Yeah,
but most
we all come from 4chan, so the Japanese thing is not a surprise.
But most of them are set across the Middle East. My story is set in Central Asia in the 1600s. We got an Egyptian one in there.
Basically, one of the guys who contributed, his idea of Oriental was literally basically anything east of America. So as long as it was east of America, he didn't care. There was no real specific band. But
I understood that the idea behind the Oriental theme was that the East has a sort of higher aesthetic right now than the West, at least, or historically. So mystic and philosophical and about beauty and shit, instead of like, I don't know what modern American literature is a lot of like I've read like feminist shit in college and it was all garbage. So I don't know.
Yeah, I understand if someone finds it easier to be inspired by an Eastern aesthetic right now. If that was the drive behind the theme, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if that was intentional or not. I mean, I and probably a fair few of the other Unreal sort of inner circle are quite anti-Western, could say that, and that you definitely see that in some of the stories. I've been editing all of them. I've read all but 2 of them or 3 of them so far. That's you can get that, but that wasn't necessary. It was very superficial when we initially intended to, like, we were just, like, the previous themes we'd had were, I don't even remember what they were, but, like, no one was following them at all. This is the first time we really had a theme that we, like, really tried to stick to, but it was not something that was well thought out.
Yeah, do you remember, what do you remember of our last 2 themes? Because, I mean, it was so vague that it's hard to remember specifically what we were supposed to be doing in those last 2 anthologies.
Okay, so the first book was Wealth, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That was the one that you were in charge of.
The one with the huge margins and the weird sizing, yeah. That was the one I was in charge of.
Teething problems.
Do you remember the second one? Because I remember the first one, but I don't remember what the theme of the second one was.
The second one was something really, like, I think it was a dual theme. It was like love and beauty or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we couldn't decide whether we wanted to do something new or, like, do, like, the 7 Deadly Sins theme. So this is the first one was wealth and maybe greed. We were thinking, oh, let's do fucking lust, I think it was. But we couldn't agree on that. So we were just like, hey, do whatever the fuck you want. Let's do lust and beauty. That makes sense. I don't see. This was when I had taken my very timely hiatus. So I don't remember actually what the back half of the editing for the second anthology looked like.
So yeah, that's where I sort of took over. And I mean, you did publish that on the same account, right? I think.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. Okay, so the second anthology, I took over on that one. I didn't really edit properly for that one. I just spent a lot of time doing cover art for that one, actually. Like, had to learn how to do, like, very basic image editing stuff, photo. We used one of Toot's drawing. He's a contributor, long-term, been there since the beginning. Caused a lot of problems for me in the most recent book. But he also does art, and we've used his art in both books so far, I think. Definitely a lot in the second book.
Yeah, we use his art in, like, ads as well. He draws like I don't know, psychedelic fucking doodles. I don't know how to describe him, but people like him, which is why even though he tried to submit like an 80-page story in 2 languages, we did not. We let him.
Yeah.
Although I guess when he comes on, we'll get you 2 to talk about that whole fucking saga. That's actually still ongoing.
Yeah. What I did want to talk about actually was, so I didn't write anything properly for the first anthology. I was actually like sort of not super involved, but I wrote an introductory kind of screed, a little piece that ruffled some feathers, apparently.
Yeah. Okay. So that was like one of the many weirdly dramatic things about the first fucking anthology was that your piece, everyone was like afraid people were gonna think we were a school shooter mag, I guess, and also F. Gardner, because you name dropped F. Gardner, and F. Gardner added the entire server. I was like, please remove my name from the forward. I don't know, maybe you want us to pay like an appearance fee or something. I don't fucking know. But yeah, so we had a whole fucking big drama show about where to put that, because some people wanted to delete it because we read comments, right, and some people were off put by that being at the front. But we ended up using it as an afterword. I mean, that's so much drama for an anthology created by and advertised to the chuddiest board, the chuddiest website on the fucking planet. But
yeah. Actually, it was after the fact. Like, we released, because I have a physical copy of both books, and
right,
I'm still on the front page. or like within like before everything. But like now, if you buy a copy, you won't get that rare first edition where you have to scroll to the back or like flip to the back if you want to.
Yeah, and if you get a new copy, you may get the rare edition where I misspelled afterward. I misspelled it as afterward. And that was maybe issue number 15 that someone yelled at me about during that edition, during that release. So I guess now we can talk to you guys sort of as writers and not so much editors. Just what were your primary inspirations for your stories? Like, give the audience a quick rundown on what you wrote.
Let's see. So, as a teenager, I was super into anime, Japan, all that shit. And growing up, I, lost interest in Japanese media. I think a lot of that has to do with they Japan has been like fucked since like World War II. Their culture just declined, and I don't see a lot of like anime or manga really doing anything artistic. I got into literature anyway. About 2 years ago, I noticed trends in media relating to occultism, and like let's say like in William Gaddis' The Recognitions, like half the chapters, the opening paragraph is about the sun somehow, right? And so I started noticing trends like that in almost all media. And my story in the Oriental Anthology is about Shonen Jump, and they have many such allusions to the sun or Helios or whatever. And my basic idea for the story goes along with the theory I have about Shonen Jump, the manga publishing company, is that they are sort of a part of a faction of sun worshippers. So I write about an editor, a foreigner who becomes an editor for his friend who's a mangaka at Shonen Jump, and he sort of as a bad experience there. He doesn't, agree with the sun worship and gets fired. That's the premise. That's what it's about. That's where it comes from. So
Yeah, there's like just in general, there's in a weird cult vein. I know we published what our best-selling book is Frater Assemblin's collection of occult poetry. There's like a strong occult interest in general. Are you is this something you're interested in, or is it something like you're like conspiratorial? Go ahead.
so yeah, I studied, I guess, perennialism in Hinduism for a bit, and I tried to practice occult philosophy, so to speak, when I was younger, and it wasn't for me. It didn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I've converted to Christianity, and I guess I would say I have more of a conspiratorial view on things. Um, I guess you see trends enough in so many things, and you start to question, whether or not it was planned, so to speak. I don't think a lot of like, since I deal with occultism in media, or symbolism, that sort of thing, I don't really think it takes a human consciousness to create the trend, because outside influences can make it so people are writing about the same shit using the same symbols, metaphysical forces, all that.
Like a Jungian thing. I forgot whether Het was a spooky nigger. Are you an occultist as well? I don't know. Because I'm not. I just have like a voyeuristic thing. I think it's neat.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation. I mean, since joining the server and like sort of listening to Frater Assembland sort of talk about that shit a lot, and I'm taking a lot of it in, but I wouldn't consider myself an occultist at all. Or
yeah, I'm hoping I get magic powers via osmosis or some shit by proximity to all you wizard niggas. What would you say are your strongest influence in terms of writing style, Garrison?
Um, I'd say Thomas Pynchon and Dostoevsky. They're the two writers I've read the most. And what I go for, I guess, stylistically, is something similar to Pynchon, dealing with conspiracies, occultism, and then sort of incorporating the higher into the lower, like metaphysical problems within a human drama, stuff like that.
Awesome. And I know, Het, everyone sort of sees you as Pynchon or being influenced by Pynchon because of your profile pic. But I don't know, are you still strongly influenced by him or?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I just like the fucking picture. I don't. I mean, I do like Pynchon a lot, and I used to be much more influenced by him in my writing. I remember, so like Unreal History Lesson, we had all started in like National Novel Writing Month, and what I was writing around that time when like the whole Unreal thing sort of came together was very Pynchonian, you could say, and I was using profile picture at the time. But since then, my style has like changed quite significantly, as you can see in either of the two stories that I've published with Unreal.
I forget if you want to talk about your story.
It's going to be hard to follow up after that, but I'll give it a go. I won't talk about the Oriental one, actually. I'll leave that for now. But talking about the first one. So the first one is a dialogue, and the sort of, actually, speaking of style, you can say it's like a sort of transitional piece because it's a long dialogue thing. Think like one of Plato's dialogues, and the dialogue sections are written in a very kind of romantic 1800s sort of style. Think in the language of like Thomas de Quincey is probably my biggest influence. But the sections between the dialogue, sort of the descriptive sequences, are still very much in that kind of postmodern lit, maximalist style. Although also applied to a very weird, dreamlike series of events. So imagistically, you might say, inspired by weird fiction kind of stuff.
The weird fiction vein is pretty. Yeah, the weird fiction influence is pretty strong. Although I guess most guys, like you said, you mentioned De Quincey, are influenced by guys that influence the genre instead of like being part of it. They predate it. So other than De Quincey, what would you say? Other than De Quincey and Pynchon at one point, what would you say you sort of imitate when you write?
So in my writing now, actually, I get a comment. I've got a comment from multiple people, even though I don't like Joyce, that my writing is like trying to be like James Joyce or Joycean in some sense, just because I try to put a bit of musicality into my prose. Like I like to use a lot of alliteration and rhyme when I can. But other than that, I don't see it.
I guess particularly the subject matter reminded me of Lord Dunsany, and obviously I'd only read part of His Fellow Men and the ill-fated group read we did, but
chapter 20.
Yeah, I'll just say that I find Joyce to be largely unreadable, so I didn't see that in yours.
I was gonna say, when I read your story you shared with me recently, there was like a sentence or two that I thought it was kind of Joycean, in a way. And I had just read like 50 pages of Ulysses, so I don't know that my impression would be too far off. And I don't think I could articulate why. Maybe it's because you said that people have said that about you, and I'm like, oh, I can see that, but so.
I just want to get like be a little less formal about your influence, because obviously everyone has influences from literature as writers, But we ultimately live in an age where most of the entertainment and media you consume is not going to be written word. So as authors who are people, for lack of a better term, because I'm struggling to find one, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I've done stand-up comedy twice in front of crowds. The second time was received rather well. And my influence for stand-up comedy, I mean, was my brother growing up. He's super into comedy, and he lacks the sort of he has so much social anxiety. He's never been able to do it himself, but I can. I don't mind getting up in front of crowds and shit. Um, so without my brother, I'd probably never be into comedy. I really liked the late Norm Macdonald. I thought he was one of the funniest people ever, probably. And I like comedy. I guess like, my passion for it, apart from being, uh, gifted to me from my brother, is probably due to my rather melancholic disposition. I sort of cope with the harshness of life with laughter. They say laughter is the best medicine, except for medicine. So,
So like uh I don't particularly enjoy stand up, but I do think that comedy in otherwise more serious work, otherwise more serious forms of art, is something that it goes underappreciated. I always try to put a lot. I always try to include comedic elements in my writing, even though I write about quite serious subjects or write about serious things. I think that's what sort of went over everybody's head with my my little introduction for the first ever anthology we did. Like, no one seemed to get that it was like completely, like entirely tongue in cheek. Like, I'm over it now, mostly.
I mean, it was weirdly, completely unnecessarily. But speaking of Norm, I just have either you. I guess you haven't, but have you read his book?
some of it. So not really, no.
All right, cool. Um,
That's a good response.
so
Actually, you should keep that in.
yeah, I'm going to. I don't cut. Are you guys both doing NaNoWriMo?
I'm gonna
Shit, nigga.
try.
What are you writing?
So I had this fantasy story about a wizard who wants to destroy time, and I decided to try and make it into an epic poem. So that is my project this month. I believe it will turn out very poorly, but I'll do it anyway.
Yeah, shit. How does something written during Nano not turn out poorly? I'd love to see it.
Well, what about F. Gardner? I mean, best
Oh yeah,
4chan author.
I mean, completely honestly, I've only read Jigoku. I own Ouroboros, and maybe I'll read at some point.
Of the classic Call of the Crocodile.
I remember the A4 sized Call of the Crocodile. That was before our esteemed, I guess he's an editor formatter, Buckley got to that, and he fixed Guard's sizing issues.
Yeah, and he's doing our thing for us right now. Actually.
Yeah, Buckley. He's an invaluable resource because for whatever reason he's done like the last 3 fucking releases for free, and he makes it so that it doesn't look, our books don't look like fucking amateur hour. Okay, so you edited, just to go back to the Oriental Anthology, that I know you don't want to tip your hand too far on that one, but you just finished, well, you've almost finished Tard Wrangling, a 18-man project. How do you feel?
I'm excited. Actually, I think this is going to be our best release yet. I think it's going to be a really good one. It's going to be a hardcover. Okay, we're going fancy.
I'm not sure if you want to get into this without him on the show, but I guess what was the biggest hurdle, the most difficulty you had while putting this thing together?
So I kept having to push deadlines back. Like, we were meant to have this one done. It was going to be a early summer release. That felt appropriate. And then it was going to be an autumn release. And now, if things go well, it could be a early winter release. Early winter release.
No. I remember coming in and seeing you finally set a hard deadline of like late October. And while it was mostly successful, I still think Two Dudes are not finished. So
some people aren't making it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's weird because since we started the Oriental Anthology in like March or January, so some dudes have been done with their story and asking when the release is for almost an entire year. Like Craig, for one.
Some people are already working on the next one.
Yeah. And Craig is so traumatized that he was like, I'll write for you, but don't ask me until like 2 weeks out from release. He's not even gonna. If it looks like it's actually gonna release, then he'll contribute. I know we have, for Garrison's story, we have a dual credit, him and someone else. You want to talk about that collaboration, or?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I put my name, Garrison, and then my friend Jalen as co-author. He helped me edit it a little and sort of conceptualize some of the more manga, I guess, influences. I reference multiple manga in the story: One Piece, Nozokiana, Hunter x Hunter, and he is just much more well-read than me in terms of Japanese media and Western media as well. So he was invaluable in, making my story have a tinge of realism to it, especially with the references.
Right.
So
awesome. Yeah. I know you. I'm not familiar at all with the current state of Japanese manga, but I know you reference you. I thought you may be speaking of specific people. The only person I recognized was Ichira Oda. But I know you name dropped other people in the piece. I don't know.
Yeah, I used the head editor's real name, Hiroyuki. I reference sort of the grandfather of manga, Osamu Tezuka, once, and one of the characters is named after him as well. I think I also included another real person's name, Hisaishi. That was kind of less meaningful. I just picked it at random. And then many mangaka, like Oda, the author of One Piece. I have a whole conversation with him in the story.
Yeah, I was wondering if those were real people or not, actually, when I was editing it.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have a situation where the authors kindly request that you remove their name from the book.
Not again.
To avoid the association. Poison pill. Okay, I know this is more of a high level question, right? So we started the press sort of as an exercise to encourage everyone, because we are in this group of writers, and the output is, let's say, sporadic. So we had the idea to publish an anthology of short stories in order to just convince every person to finally write something. But now that we keep, I guess, publishing more things, right, and asking basically every dude we see on Discord who's a little interesting, hey, can you write something for us? What is the end game for you? Like, what is the idea we're trying to convey here? Like, what is a point, I guess? What is a point?
That's a good question, actually. So, I mean, I don't know what your initial plan was when you got this whole thing started. I mean, other than to get us writing, because as soon as Nano ended, kind of everyone just immediately stopped. So that did get people motivated. It's cool to see your stuff like just in a physical book or even an ebook, and it really does motivate people. Even though the second book had got slightly less interest because we lost quite a few people. Like quite a few people just sort of left the server between the first and second book. That was an exodus, and then we got some outside submissions which weren't great.
Yeah, I guess that was my idea. Actually.
That was you paid them, didn't you?
Let's not address that question.
Right now, I don't know. I think we could definitely we could make this. We have enough people now that we could make this a bi-yearly thing. I think easily. This one took 9 months when it was supposed to take about 4. But I think once we get the process down and maybe build up our like roster ever so slightly, we could have multiple books, and not everyone will necessarily be in every book.
Exactly, yeah.
But it will be a display of our talent, because we also published LA's books and Freighter's poetry. We're going to maybe publish more of his poetry in the future, and we want to publish some non-fiction stuff. We want to encourage people who have the talent or interest to actually do what they should be doing, which is writing.
Yeah, committing to long-term projects. Like I know, some people have the idea and they want to be like a dissident literature publisher, but like I don't know, most people in this group and most people are interested. They're not like they don't want to write like harassment architecture. Like there's a few people who want to write Bronze Age mindset. But I don't know if dissident lit is really the point, rather than like good shit that no one publishes before.
Yeah, I don't know if actually anything we publish is explicitly dissident, even if a lot of people writing might see themselves as dissident figures.
Right. I mean, LA continues to write LGBT fiction, so I guess the opposite of a dissident press.
Yeah. Precisely. I don't know how well his recent downfall has been documented on the podcast, but that's been interesting to follow.
I don't know if we've ever explicitly talked about. I know he revealed his conversion to Judaism on the show. I mean, oh my goodness. I know she revealed her conversion to Judaism on the show. Reminder that we have to stick to that. Yeah. But I don't think the full extent of the tumult has been revealed. Maybe we'll become the internet's premier LGBTQ romance publisher.
That's where the money is.
Yeah, exactly. Way more money in that.
You could channel your erotic fantasies into some short stories, Rhyme.
I absolutely could. At my peak, at the at the peak of my unmedicated period, I did produce quite a few. Well, a handful of those sort of stories. They weren't very erotic though. Mostly just me screaming at random people in the Discord that I was going to sexually assault. Things that are no longer documented because the Fuhrer of the Discord server deleted it. Thank you.
Truly a tragedy, to be honest.
We sort of had talked about sort of the goal of the anthology, and also sort of you guys mentioned, being like dissident or weird fiction, and I guess I haven't been here too long, but I think a lot of people have rather high aesthetics and high values and are wanting to write something beautiful, like first and foremost. It seems like a lot of the members here, care about, that sort of thing, as opposed to just being like edgy or writing, in the typical contrarian 4chan culture, that sort of thing.
There's definitely like a primary concern with quality of writing. I don't want to say prose because it's so common a term as to be vague, but there is more focus on people who put specific thoughts. They aren't trying to erase the experience. There's a lot of desires to sort of make get the book, I guess, in order to achieve this inferior, in order to be a movie on paper, I guess. But that's not really. I don't think that's even a worthwhile aim for literature, nor do people expressly enjoy. I don't believe they expressly enjoy movies on print, on paper, over books that take more care with their words. It's just sort of and again, I don't want to portray this idea that we take ourselves super seriously here, but we do enjoy reading like gothic horror writers and weird fiction writers who do put more effort into each word, because each word can be used to create mood or sensation in the reader, and it's different priority than, I guess, most mainstream fiction. And also, there's like this desire among dissident presses to just publish different shit because it's different, as opposed to publishing things you would actually enjoy reading. Like, I would enjoy reading a nigga who just wants to write Lovecraftian fiction, like Lovecraft, for the rest of his life. I wouldn't enjoy reading the ramblings of a dude who hates society, dude number 6 million who hates society. That's not something I'd enjoy. So that's not something that I'd want to publish.
I think there are like contingents. I think we can identify like maybe 3 or 4 different contingents of people who come to Unreal and other similar kind of projects that like are unaffiliated with us, but sort of a lot like operating at the same time, like AmP or LAMP or whatever you call it. And the Lit Quarterly. I don't know if you remember that. That was a
classic.
that saga. That was something that we could talk about. We could do an episode about that.
Oh my god, we should. We absolutely have to act.
But I think you can identify like so there's like the WG, like writing general contingent, and there are definitely a few people like that who are in this in the server for this podcast, and are included in our anthology and have been from the very beginning, who want to write
commercial.
If they want to be, I mean, I don't know, it's complicated. They want to write something that can sell, but in a market that doesn't sell anymore. So
yeah. Yeah.
And then you have people who are like real writers. Actually, just one. That's Broccoli. Sort of LA is somewhere in between those two groups, I guess.
Guys that write like Bret Easton Ellis and Chuck Palin, whatever. He's Polish. Polish Chuck. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. In that vein of sort of, I don't know, it's like dirty realism or...
Yeah.
And then you have the sort of edgy, shock humor, toilet humor, Mike Ma poses. Not that Mike Ma himself is not a poser. He didn't reply to... So I wrote an email for the podcast as well, and he also hasn't responded to me.
Mike Ma, stop being a pussy.
Come on the show.
Yeah, bro.
So yeah, people like him, or maybe BAP imitators. I want to be like edgy 4chan writers for those types. And then we have probably the bulk of the Unreal writers are we've been talking about, like sort of inspired by weird, thick, gothic horror kind of Victorian and Romantic era kind of lit.
Yeah, honestly, like not just in the server, but like on the board, like lit/lit. I don't know where all the Bronze Age pervert Mike Moss style writers have gone. Like it's all like WG guys who want to write Royal Road fiction, start a Patreon, and make $200 a month, and that's a fine aim as long as you understand what your aim is. And there are plenty of guys who want to write like Brandon Sanderson fiction, which is distinct from Royal Road fiction. You may not feel that way, but it's a small distinction, but it is distinct. That's what Craig writes, like military sci-fi stuff like that. But like that guy who writes 4chan shock fiction, I feel like he's sort of gone extinct. It's almost like we, like the board or the groups on /lit have just sort of deprived him of oxygen, which is a shame. Because sometimes it is pretty funny and good. I know we had a guy on the show, Jay. He went by Bone then, but he's got a YouTube channel now, Jared Michael Baldwin, and he's that kind of guy. Really, the only one I know.
He's also the face of, even though he probably refuses all association with us, he's like the face of our brand.
You know, he's disavowed the Unreal Press, but he's literally like, in case you were wondering if you were like some weird Ezra Pound fan club, no, that's the face of a guy that we used as our logo to like a year and a half ago, and it's just stuck. Actually, we were the opposite of an Ezra Pound fan club. A bunch of people from here, not me, I quit after a day. They read the entire Cantos last month. They really took a lot of psychological damage from that experience. I worry for them. Yeah, it's so weird because I don't know how many other questions I have about the first two books. The first two books, just to like fill the audience in, because I feel like just listing off some of the trouble from the first edition is pretty funny in of itself. So one of the stories, the actually penultimate, used to be the final story. But the penultimate piece from the first anthology was written by a guy who now wishes to no longer be named. He wrote a story essentially about throat fucking his girlfriend. Uh-huh. And a month or two after release, he messages me and says, hey bro, can you redact that entire story? Actually, I think he was not in the proper state of mind while penning and submitting that story. So now if you buy a copy of the first Unreal Anthology, there is about 20 to 30 pages of just black lines. And I don't know if anybody from the server has actually purchased an edition that recent. They probably haven't, so that's why no one's ever mentioned it. But yes, the entire back 30 pages is just black line.
Wow, I did not know that. I have the original copy. So we could tell this individual, I probably will tell him myself after this is over, that it's in print forever. There's nothing he can do about that.
Yeah, no. It's a powerful piece of blackmail material, I imagine. Well, God, what else? I got yelled at for that shit. I think there was a fucking typo. There was a typo in your... No, they wanted me to italicize the titles that you dropped in your foreword, which was a big drama show for some reason.
There's a lot of issues of mine because of weird non-standard grammar usage and lots of M-dashes.
Yeah, the fucking M-dash. Never before has a book that sold fewer than 25 copies caused so much anguish. Of course, now that I say that, I realize that about half traditionally published books sell fewer than 12 copies, so maybe I'm wrong.
Where are the upper 50%?
Absolutely. Listen, man. First, you're in the upper 50%, and you just crawl your way to the top. Such a low bar to clear, but I'm glad that we now know how low a bar it is.
Hey, so I'm gonna shill the next anthology on my social media. I bet 5 people will buy it because of that. My mom, dad, brother, grandma and grandpa. So
Well, number one,
Nice.
that's baller, and number two, that gives me minor flashbacks because another issue from the first anthology was that everyone was super excited, and everyone was like, "We're going to share this everywhere. We're going to do a grassroots campaign. We're going to go to our college campuses and put up posters." And then the author that's going to be on this show in a couple weeks, we read his story, and well, first of all, it was a story where the climax was essentially an individual being covered in cum. And in that story, he wrote in all caps the gamer word, which I'm calling the gamer word, even though I have the pass because I don't think YouTube can tell I'm black. So he had the gamer word, and suddenly our little ball of advertisers disappeared. Everyone disavowed the book. We had no fucking grassroots campaign. The shit went under. Listen, man. It was not a fun time, man. It's very disappointing. All because of one N-word. Like, grow a spine. Everyone gets. Okay. But yeah, we're gonna try to do a proper. I'm not gonna call it a shill campaign because reminder, if you ever see someone shill in the press or any of this shit on 4chan, it is not me. I do not do covert shilling. It only makes people hate you. So don't blame me for that shit. But we're gonna do like a legitimate campaign to get this book in front of people because it's nice. The stories are good, and a lot of work went into it to make it look professional. Yeah.
The stories are
But yeah.
good. I mean, I've read almost all of them, and like, I'm studying English at a university, and like, believe me, like the writing I'm seeing from people in my classes who are supposed to be some of the best in the country is not of the same quality as the best stuff in this book we're putting together.
Yeah, like we
That's all
read
I'll say.
from the first anthology, which was not as strong as because everyone here is like at the oldest early 30s, so everyone's like early 20s or some of them are like fucking teenagers. Which anyway, teenagers to early 30s. So everyone in the past year and a half has progressed pretty significantly as a writer. So the first anthology was not even that fucking. But like I have from my alma mater, I have a lit journal magazine, and like it's better than the stories in there, which was pretty shocking. But yeah, I mean, trying to sell it to this fucking audience because despite the fact that we have a pretty active Discord and a small but it's 230 people subscribed to the channel, not many people, no one I don't think has bought our books. Actually, I think LA has sold maybe 2 books to the audience, which is fine. These have become 2 separate projects, and that's why we're doing this podcast to sort of cohere those 2 projects.
Yeah. I don't know if now's a good time to mention that the second anthology is actually available for free because no one bought that one, and we didn't even scuffed the release on it. So we basically just put it up on the website, which is available which you can get the link to in the description of the podcast, presumably, I would hope.
Yeah.
And just go on there. You'll find it somehow. It's on the front page, I'm sure.
Yeah, you get a nice little PDF with Toot. We call him Toot. He really has to come up with a pseudonym I can use. I can't be calling a grown man Toot, but he drew a little doggy for the cover. It looks nice. So if you want to like buy the hard copy, that's fine. We highly encourage it, knowing that all the money, all our proceeds, if you want to call them that, if we can call them proceeds at this scale, they all go to just advertising our releases. So if you want to pay for like I guess 2 days of self-service ads on 4chan, buy a hard copy. That'd be cool.
We should have, like One Spiral and Harry manipulate the algorithm with their, like astral projection shit or whatever for us.
Yeah, we absolutely need the spooky niggas to start casting spells. They need to cast spells in our favor, man. I know Frater, if he tried, cast a spell to give me $1 billion. And the fact that he doesn't, I take great offense to that.
I mean, you were taking a nap earlier, right? I killed a rabbit to try and wake you up. I don't know if that worked.
You know what? What time did you kill that
Apparently not.
rabbit? Because I did wake up in like a stupor.
It's about 2 hours ago. I drowned him.
Yeah, honestly, you drowned the rabbit.
Huh? What?
Just
What are you
fucking cut
talking
his
about,
throat,
dude?
man. Drown the fucking rabbit.
My
Jeez.
landlord said that's the most humane way. All right.
Oh well, landlords would think some shit like that. The most humane way to house someone is to make them pay me money indefinitely to never give a place to live. Oh, I'm sorry, guy who's been paying me rent for the past 30 years. You forget 2 months rent during a fucking recession? I hope you enjoy the cold hard street, nigger, because you're gonna be sleeping there for the rest of your life.
He took us to a Twins game, a baseball game this summer, and I was right beforehand. I was like joking. I'm like, "Hey, this is you're trying to help us forget that you're fucking us, right?" And he's like, "What? What? What are you? Huh?" And I'm just like, "Dude, it's a joke. Just thanks for bringing me to the game."
Yeah, the fact that he reacted like that means you were on the money.
Yeah,
It's like
they know.
a boss holding a fucking pizza party for employee appreciation. Like, I didn't forget that you're paying me like $20,000 below market value, you fucking jerk. So, Garrison, Het, it's great having you guys on. If you guys have anything to plug or anything you want to say as like last remarks, you guys can go ahead right now. Starting with Het, editor's privilege.
No, I don't have anything. I mean, the anthology is my project. Buy both of those. Buy the first one, scroll to the back page, read my intro, then read it, then buy the second one and read that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
As for me, I don't know. Hopefully, I write and finish a bunch of shit. And if you like my story in the anthology, I don't know, buy it if it's ever published. Support me, whatever. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, signing off for the Unreal Press podcast. This has been Rhyme. I used to like plug Twitter and Medium and shit in these outros, but since the 9 months that I've been gone, I've not tweeted a single thing or written a single article. So I don't have anything to plug. Other than, hey, join the Discord. The Discord is linked in the description. It's hopping. It's more active than the fucking YouTube channel. Even though we're very grateful for people who watch this. I really expected these things to get like 7 views a piece until I killed myself. But the support's been awesome. Thank you for that. LA will be back to you in probably a week. To us, he'll be back in like a month. You know, it's midterm. No one knows why NaNoWriMo takes place at the same time as college finals, but it does. And so doing both of those things at the same time is kind of exhausting. So he'll be back. But yeah, signing off. I'm Rhyme. Join the Discord. Click on the link in the description to get a free PDF of our last anthology prior to the Oriental one. See ya. I hope you enjoyed the improved audio. I hope the audio is improved and we didn't lose something in the recording process and I have to use Craig anyway. Adios.
I may have gone too far in a few places.